I am James Lott Jr., the JLJ of JLJ Media. That's right, kids. And we're here tonight. You like to give you some creative folks, and that's what we're doing today. I'm giving you some creative folks who are my friends. And so we're going to talk about life and art and life. We're going to talk about all of it together. I'm going to make sure.
I am James Lott Jr., the JLJ.
I'm quiet. Okay, I'm going to turn on the chat room. You have anything you want to say? That's PG-13 rated. Please go ahead and do that. Yes. Also, while you're here, be kind, rewind. No, come and join me and subscribe to my channel. My online network just celebrated 1 year in business. I'm one of the few men of color who has his own network online. So please go ahead and support that. Come on, people. You know you want to. And so like that like button, subscribe button. I have over 35 shows ranging from Star Wars to left-handedness to grandparenthood and everything in between. So go ahead and check something out. You might find something you like. The subscribe button is down here somewhere. I always point the wrong direction. That's what happens when you're old. Okay, these two people, I just love them. The one guy was my Uber driver 7 years ago, and I showed up to his "Tell Me I'm Pretty," and I told him he was pretty. And I went, and he was shocked I was there, but I told him I'd show. I said I'll support my folks. I showed up. We've been friends ever since. He's been on my other shows many times over. Mr. Joshua Silverstein.
Hey everybody, good to be here, James.
Hello. And she was on my Breaking Into. She's a talented photographer, and now she's educating other folks on how to get in touch with their selves during photography. And she's his better half. I don't know. We'll see. Miss Cinthya Joshua. Hello, Cinthya.
Hi, James.
So for everybody out there, happy Father's Day. Joshua, happy Father's Day to you. I'm a father and grandfather myself. It's my first Father's Day without my stepdad, who died a few days ago. So I'm dedicating all my shows to him. Larry was hilarious. He talked shit to me all the time, but I know he loved me. And he was tickled that I was doing stuff like this. So I want to give a shout out to Mr. Larry. Hi, Kirsten in the chat room. Hi, everybody in the chat room. Yes, and it's also Gay Pride Month. We celebrate the LGBTQIA+ community. You should have a right to be whoever you are, as long as you're not hurting nobody else. Why not? You should not even live in fear of being who you are. And also this weekend was Juneteenth. And if you know what that was, look that up also. But again, I'm for JLJ Media supports everybody and everything that we're trying to make social justice happen. And these two, we'll talk about that and their social justice too. Stuff too. So I'll make sure I say all that. Those are my church announcements.
Good.
But Josh, I want to ask you a question because you are a father to her before you came on. Then you have a son, which I love the name Shell Silverstein, of course. So what does Father's Day mean to you?
Wow, that's a really great question. I love great questions. You have great questions on your shows.
Are you nervous?
No. It's nice to be asked a question that I don't have an answer for already going in. So what does Father's Day mean to me? It's deep, right? So one of the things that I'm recognizing as a father is how I'm having to unlearn a lot of the lessons I learned from my dad, right? And do things differently. And today I had a really cool moment where my son and daughter, my oldest, gave me cards they made. And in the card, it said, so my daughter, who's 8, had a school assignment, and she wrote this poem to me. And one of the things that stood out to me, because I'm very shallow, was that my dad is I'm going to paraphrase, is the coolest, funniest guy. And I was like, my kids think I'm cool and funny. I never thought my dad was cool. I was embarrassed by my dad.
What would you have put there?
I would have said, my dad is my dad. I love my dad, but I've never thought my dad was cool. When I was my oldest son is 13, my daughter's 8, my baby is almost 2. And the fact, when I associate cool, I think respect, right? You respect the things you think are cool. And the fact that my kids respect me is in under the guise of coolness. That just, I don't know, that sat somewhere with me that was really surprising. I felt like my kids are going to grow up going, I like who my dad is. They may not want to do what I do or follow in my footsteps or, always like the choices I make or think that I always make smart choices. But the fact that they like who I am and the fact that they think I'm funny and hardworking and cool. Like I never thought my dad would show up to my school to pick me up wearing a fanny pack that was not Gucci, not a Gucci fanny pack, like a Fox Hills Mall fanny pack that they got
like
from
a Red Cross fanny pack.
A Red Cross fanny pack, leather breaking, shorts that you could totally see the outline of his penis in, like really high shorts that were like colored. He's a heavy set man, so it'd be a big shirt. And he didn't care. His whole thing was, like the world has to accept me. I don't care. And I thought, that's a cool lesson. But when you're a kid trying to survive and be liked and coexist, like that thing matters. And the fact that my kids, we try to embarrass them and they're like, we don't care. Like, you guys are cool people. Like our kids think our parents are cool. Like, so the fact that my children, that I became the father, like Cinthya had kids, I became the father to these two children early on in their lives, and we've been together for the last 7 years, and they not only see me as their dad in every way, but the fact that they're like I have a cool and like they think I'm funny, not corny. I just thought I'm winning. Like I won the dad game. I won the competition. They got me a Batman set.
I saw that.
Yeah, like I never got my dad gifts like that. Like and if I had got him a Lego set, he would have been like, why, what is this? And I just think, so Father's Day, it's so touching because it's kind of like a benchmark in my life where for this one day, it isn't about succeeding. It isn't about my career. It isn't about what I've accomplished. It's taking a moment and really realizing that like I'm part of these people's lives who love me. And love me, and they live with me. Like we've been together for a long time, and they've been, for the pandemic, they didn't leave the house. For a while there was some kind of mystery of like, what does that do when we're gone? They saw it every day. They never left. They're still here. So there was no facade. My son every day goes, "What'd you do today?" And he knows. And if I slept for 10 hours, he's like, Dad slept for 10. And there's no mystery of like who I am as a person. They know exactly what my flaws are. They know my shortcomings. They know when I'm being lazy. And they can look at all of that and go, I still think this man is funny and hardworking, and I love him. And that, I don't know, like today, I took a moment and I was like, I'm doing great. Like I'm really doing great. And I don't know, that's just, I don't think I never saw that experience of Father's Day when I was growing up, experiencing my dad who's still around. So the fact that I'm experiencing that now as a dad is magical.
It's funny. That's very beautiful. And what's really funny for me, my father and I didn't have a good relationship.
Yeah.
That's why my stepdad, when he came in at 14, very influential time for me and my brother.
Yeah.
Brothers. I have a brother who passed away, as you know. But for me and my brothers, it came at the right time for us. Like we needed a male figure. And so that's why this passing is a little weird for me. But I'll tell you, I didn't know what Father's Day was really about until I became a grandfather. So this thing for you later. I became a grandfather. That's when I realized, because my daughter basically said to me, "You were a good father." And I tried my best. And you're in the trenches. You both know how it is. You're just raising kids, trying to work, just whatever. And I went, wait a minute. I'm the father I didn't have.
Yeah.
I became the father for them because I was really working on it. That I didn't, and I had the relationship with them I don't have with him.
Mm-hmm.
Again, so it worked. But it was a Father's Day until I became a grandfather. And so when it hit me, going, oh, because they were raised, they were grown. I was able to reflect and go, oh, now I get it. I do. Oh, we're fine. Okay, we're good. Okay, that's good. That's we don't have problems or anything like that, but just kind of like it's like, oh, okay. Now I get Father's Day, but it took me to become a grandfather to actually get it.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's deep. I mean, again, my dad is still around, and my dad is someone who is beloved by the community of LA. Like he's, my mom and my dad are both LA natives. My grandparents on my father's side were very influential in within LA culture, specifically political LA culture. And so my dad is someone who people really love and enjoy and respect. And I think because of that, I don't think he's had this experience of reflecting on who he is. And so the funny thing about my dad is like the same exact person he was raising me as a kid is the same person as a grandfather that is to my kids. And they're like, your dad sucks. And I'm like, he does suck, right? So now I got proof. I'm like, yeah, my wife gets it. My kids know. It's like, yes. Everyone who's like, your dad's great. I'm like, talk to his grandkids about talk to my wife about who my dad is. Get their perspective.
I want to ask Cinthya, so for you, what has it been like watching Joshua's journey become this father with your kids, then your kid together? What's it been like for you to watch this happen? Because you're a mom. When I mentioned you're a mom, you're raising kids, you're doing stuff, and now you have this guy come in there. So what has it been for you?
I mean, it's definitely been a trip for me because I was with my older two children's father for a very long time, and he was around for the eldest at least until he was 6 or 7, like 6.5. So I saw him show up as a dad, as somebody who, did the basics, provided, changed diapers, did those things. And it was a really big shift to then see somebody who just all of a sudden welcomed my kids in a way that was beyond that. It was like, oh, right, fathers do more than just check off these boxes of responsibility. And they are going to do and make choices for the kids that are going to affect them for years to come. I mean, the intentionality that Joshua had when he stepped in was something that at first was honestly a little bit like, whoa, like, are you this serious about parenthood? Like, even for me, I was like, I'm not that serious about parenthood. And I'm there like, mother, like, you're really taking this that seriously? And it was such a good influence for me, but it was this like whole new perspective of, these kids are more like he's doing more than just keeping them alive. He's doing more than
I'm barely doing that. Like I'm not winning at the keeping them the survival stuff. No.
But he's like he's very intentional and has always been. I mean, Lila was 2.5, 3, and he was making choices for her then that I'm like, dude, she's 3. But now I'm like, oh my God, like had he not stepped in at that point and provided this like really solid foundation for her with a male figure, with a father figure, I don't think that she would be who she is now at 8 years old.
I mean, it's really a cool experiment. And I say experiment, not like, I mean, it is experimenting, right? Like because you try and you don't know. But it really is something cool to see, like nurture versus nature, because like these are my kids, right?
Like kids, they're your kids.
Yeah, they're my kids. I mean, there's obviously the benefit of me being racially ambiguous, or I mean, we're in public, they're like, yeah, they look like you, and I'm like, yeah, they do, and so there is that. Like joy that like the kids go, that's my dad, and no one's going, is he? Like there's people kind of, we get this, skip on by that whole question, but like these are my kid. Like our daughter is me. Like our son is
I don't know
me.
how, I mean,
like it is deep. It is deep. I mean, I if there would be no. As far as I see it, there'd be no difference if, my oldest had the same DNA as me. There'd be no difference. They may look a little different, but that'd be it. They'd still be these people.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. Actually, I do believe nurture has a big part of it. I think biology sometimes is just biology. I mean, it's completely. I mean, one of my daughters and my mother are very much alike. I mean, two separate. And they're very much when they get together. It's just like this is crazy talk. I see my mother in you. My granddaughter, ironically, I have 3 grandsons and a granddaughter. My granddaughter is the most like me.
Yeah.
I think I waited for one of the grandsons to get. I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready. And I'm like, oh no, it's my granddaughter who's most like me. Yeah, like that's very interesting. But it's just so. It's just. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's kind of. I love it. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, watching you, Joshua, go from another relationship, single guy to full on family life has been very fun to watch.
He jumped right in.
He did. I know he jumped right in. And on the outside, it was just kind of funny how you included them. It's from the outside in posts and things you're doing, what you're doing. Yeah. You're very, very, very. Wait, I'm gonna read it. Okay, so Geneva Holland in the chat says, and so Geneva, since you said don't read it out, I don't have to share it. I'm going to share it anyway now. You should know me by now. Hi, James. You have to share this. My favorite verse in the Bible comes from Psalms. A father to the fatherless, a defender of widows is God in his holy dwelling. It's a positive thing. I like that.
Yeah.
I just think it just kids want like 4 things. Food, I'm doing that, of course. They want to know that they're cared about, they're loved, that they matter.
Yeah.
That's literally the basics of what they need. And if you show that to them, they will naturally hook on to you. If you can give those things, they will hook on to you. That's from my experience. They'll hook on to you. And that's
it's so funny how I think I think humanity is complicated because we don't take the time to really sit and reflect and process. And, we're all carrying trauma and all kinds of stuff in our evolution and our DNA. And it's like, and if you're Black, it's like 10 times more trauma and stuff in your DNA. And so we don't ever stop and go, wait, what is the real thing? And I think you're right. I think the basics of anybody just needs to feel like they matter. Like anybody. I think people who have mental illnesses need to feel like they matter. And it's a big part of why those mental illnesses develop is because there's no sense of like, I'm not connected to anything that feels significant. I don't matter. There's also like the chemical stuff, but like really people just want to feel loved and taken care of.
And seen.
Joshua said something years ago that I always quote. I believe it was you. I don't think it was Joe. I think it was you.
I'll take it.
Where you said once, people complain about the traffic.
Yeah. And
you said, but we are the traffic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I'm like, I told my sister that we say it all the time. Every time we complain about the traffic, we're on the 110 and it's like, it's us. We're part of it.
Yes, it's us. We hate the thing we are. Yeah, we're the car. Yeah.
We're the car.
Yeah.
I say, you said it years ago. I believe it was you. You said it years ago on one of my shows. And I was like, that is like the most simplistically brilliant thing that Joshua ever said to me. Because it explains everything. Yeah. I want to ask you both because I watched you last year. So when the pandemic came down and LA locked the fuck down. I just locked down.
It was great.
After my first month of depression, I came out of it. At first, I was like, because I do 10,000 things. When it all shut down, I was like, what's going to do now? What am I going to do now?
Yeah.
And then I figured it out. I started figuring it out. But you guys, I think I did a lot of shows last year. You guys were online all the time.
Every day.
With the baby, without a baby, with kids. Yeah. I was laughing because you guys were on there all the time. So I wanted to find out from both of you where that impetus comes. You were talking about racial justice. I want to get to all that too, of course. I'm wearing my shirt, of course. But I want to just talk about what made the decision. You guys said, okay, we're at home, we're locked down, we're turning this into some shows. What made you guys decide to do that?
Well, so just a quick backstory. I mean, talk about serendipity. We have our home, right? We're in Midtown, LA. We got a great duplex and we have a garage. We have 2 cars, but we have street parking. So we tend to park on the street. And we were like, let's turn Cynthia's a photographer. I'm an actor and writer and performer. And we thought, let's turn the garage into a theater. Make it into a studio. So Cinthya can shoot and I can perform and, do my things on a camera and whatever, and just put stuff on Instagram. Like we got caught up in this, like, let's just make content. Like, let's not wait for anyone to discover us or whatever. Let's just keep creating. We like to create. Let's just do it for ourselves. And so I went out and I bought lights and I bought, fabric, and Cinthya sewed some curtains. We went to the downtown arts district and bought stuff. And I got real crafty. We made a whole lighting grid. Yeah,
he set up this whole lighting grid.
Like we've got backstage. We got side lights, and we went full. I mean, it's a full-on theater. I painted the concrete black so to be a stage. I bought
like a little black box theater.
Like a little black box. And I was like, we do black box.
Show or two there. I'm ready to perform.
We do black box theater stuff anyway. I was like, let's just do it here for free. We'll open up the garage and do alley shows, because our garage opens into an alley. We'll invite the neighborhood and we'll just put on theater and people can watch and hang out.
This was literally 2 weeks before.
Everything shut down.
Crazy.
So we had no idea this was happening. And then all of a sudden things got shut down and we were like, oh, well then let's just keep doing stuff. And so we were doing things anyway. So that was that. And then it kind of evolved organically, right? Like Cinthya will say on her tombstone, I'm not a performer, but it's all bullshit because she's fucking amazing. She's talented. And so we were doing shows.
Don't believe it. It's not true.
And our whole thing was, let's just talk about the world, because we're doing it in our home anyway.
Well, I don't know if you guys could tell, but we like to talk a lot. And so we were waking up when all this stuff was happening. We were waking up, reading the news and just going back and forth, angrily and passionate about everything we're reading. We're like, did
you had all kind of stuff. I remember I watched some of them. You did.
Yeah. We were like, did you read this article? Did you see this? And I'd be sending him stuff and then he'd send me stuff and we'd just be going back and forth. And then we're like, nobody's talking about this. Why isn't anybody talking about this?
So we thought, we'll just talk about it. And so the show started off with me just riffing on what we were reading in the house anyway. And Cinthya would be filming it because she's the cinematographer. And I don't
like being in front of the camera.
But she would say stuff. And I was like, you're talking to me. It's weird.
Off camera.
It's like, show yourself. And so we were like, we'll do it together. And so... Oh, and then what we were doing, so we were doing that, and then we would talk about what we talked about together outside. So we did this weird thing. And so the show became the two of us just riffing on the news. And then, Floyd happened. And then all of a sudden, more and more people were, and because of COVID, people couldn't go anywhere. Everybody was online. People couldn't go to work. They were depressed and they were looking to, the internet and Instagram and Facebook for clarity or for an outlet, for a release. And so all of a sudden, when Floyd happened, I was upset for all the obvious reasons. But one of the biggest upsets for me was all the attention it got. And I was like, this is not a new thing. And the question that I kept asking was, why are you mad now? And so that kind of kicked off our passion in doing a show, which was, how can we talk about stuff in a way that makes it very clear that none of this is new. Mm-hmm. And if we want to do anything to change the world, we have to pay attention and we have to take it all in. So we decided to talk about everything, And
it's not an understatement to say that since the day I met Joshua Silverstein, there has not been a day that has gone by where we have not talked about race or social justice. That, I think, was a big foundation of our relationship. And it became this passion project of ours to be like, we talk about this every day because we're so aware on so many levels, as a Black man, as a Mexican woman who
was born in a different country.
I was actually not born here.
Right.
I mean, we see all of these things with this different perspective, and people need to hear it. People need to know, and people need to think about these things. So it became very natural to go, let's talk about it in front of people.
But also one of the things that I think made us really excited about doing it was we're not Trevor Noah, right? And I
Wait, what? You're not?
I'm sorry, it's the prize. And I give the dude props because he really grew into those shoes, right? Like, I mean, Stuart is amazing, and it took him a while to find his groove and Trevor found it, and he's great now. But one of the things about Trevor that, or John Oliver or Bill Maher is that these are guys who get to live outside of the oppression, right? Like they are in the financial bracket to where they can go home and be safe. Whereas we're still middle class. Like as all the stuff that I've done, on TV and in film and in theater or whatever, like we're still hustling. Like Trevor Noah could take a break from TV and be good for several years, right? Right? And so all the things in politics affect us differently. Right. We have a different opinion because we have to live through all of it. Trevor has, has an amazing opinion and a spot on opinion about American culture and world culture and politics. And he's super smart. But again, a lot of that stuff doesn't affect him directly because he's on a different economic bracket, right? It's kind of like we always talk about, we talk about sexism in our house and racism. And I always feel like you as a black person, as a black man, can make enough money to buy yourself out of racism, right? You get to be, there are black men living in America who say things like, I've never experienced racism. And I'm like, I will never be able to say that. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how. Like, I understand that I'm multi-ethnic and that gives me privilege. And I understand that, I didn't grow up poor and that gives me privilege, but I am keenly aware of racism and I experience it almost every day, right? In different degrees. It's subtle sometimes it's straight up N-word in the face, right? So like I haven't made enough money. Like I still have to say yes to bigots because I want to work, right? Like I still have to say to people that I don't respect, that I don't like, sure, I'll do your project because I want to bring home money that provides for my family, that provides for me, so that perspective, we just don't get to see on TV or on the radio, because if you're in that space, you're doing well, usually.
Yeah. And going back to the children thing, we take that very seriously and we have these conversations with them and we're like,
yeah,
let's bring them into it. Let's have their perspective. I mean, there was one episode where Ami joined us to talk about the Emancipation Proclamation, and he kind of debunked Lincoln's position as like the great emancipator.
Yeah, it was 12 at the time.
He was 12 and he was like, let's talk to people about how this isn't real. And so we're like, here's a kid who's also joining in this movement, and like, let's make it a family thing. Let's show people that there is this way of thinking that exists, and it's okay to share and it's okay to talk about, and we can be comfortable having these conversations with each other. And then it just kind of took off from there.
Yeah.
I feel like we don't have the privilege or luxury as people of color to not talk about it.
Listen, Will Smith said it, Lil Wayne said it, Morgan Freeman, who I respect, said it, that they've never experienced racism or oppression. And it's baffling to me because, especially Morgan Freeman, who did Driving Miss Daisy. And I'm like, dude, that's a racist movie that you had to do. Right. So, the fact that these people who have iconic lives say things like that. And, the fact that Kanye West got up and said, slavery was a choice. And I understand what he meant, but the fact that he said that out loud, yes. And, I just feel like, yes, 100%, James, we as people of color, as Black people, as brown people, we have to keep talking about the oppression, because if we don't talk about it, it will always exist. Mm-hmm. Always.
And as women, women don't get the luxury of not getting catcalled or sexualized at a young age. I mean, it's like a girl gets boobs at 9 or 10 and suddenly that's it. And so women don't get a chance to, I'll just play it safe and I won't say anything, just pretend like, we have to talk about it to the kids. We have to tell them what's up. And you know, you'll find people out there. You watch this, you'll find ways. There's also resources out there. You can talk to people to help you with that. But just that you have to. I had to. I was 6 years old, and I was told in Sherman Oaks Elementary School when I was bused out there back in the early 70s and last part of desegregation. Why are your parents different colors? How did they get together? Why are they different colors? And I was like 6 years old. And I didn't know what that meant. They're just my parents. I did not know what.
Yeah.
I don't know. They had to sit us down and tell us, here's just what's going to happen, you know, to all us kids. We had to have the discussion, and we're 6. Where a lot of white kids don't get the discussion. They don't have to get that. They don't have to worry about that until they're grown. Then they're confronted with that kind of stuff. And I said, and boys, we get away with. I have male privilege. I have male privilege in certain things that girls know for a fact happen.
Yeah.
Go through. And we had this talk. I think it was my late friend Dolfo Chabadu Quinones, may he rest in peace. I miss him every day. Legend said, you know, men are raised anorexic, and women are raised mentally, and women are raised anorexic with their bodies. Like we're taught men to not say anything, be quiet, man up, don't be a sissy, whatever. And girls are taught to, you know, you tell your feelings, but you gotta be a little sexier, and make sure you put some makeup on, and you know, wear that shirt, and wear those shorts. It's like we're just. It's so messed up that we have to at these days now. It's all exposed, right? It's all exposed now. There's no secrets. There's no secrets anymore. It's all out there. So now we have to help these next generations understand kind of what's going on. And I think you guys are doing that. I saw that.
I mean, it's, you know, like we definitely talk about gender toxicity in our house a lot. I mean, the fact that our daughter was in kindergarten, and because we felt like the underwear that they were selling at Target was too sexualized.
Have you seen the underwear for like little 5-year-old girls?
Yeah, like
they're like bikini,
it's like lace.
sparkle.
And we're like, what are you lace on when you're 5?
Glitter on her butt.
Yeah, so it's gross. So we were like, you're going to the boy section, and we bought her boy shorts.
She loved Big Hero 6 at the time.
Right.
And so we're like, here's Big Hero 6 underwear. Here you go.
And they're shorts, which again, like it's just underwear. There's nothing. It's supposed to just protect you from your pants rubbing up against your genitals. Right. So, but she was in kindergarten, and the other, you know, you share stalls at the time when you're in kindergarten. The other kids are like, "What you got on, boy?" And I'm like, "You're 5. Gender doesn't even like what is gender when you're 5?
Effect on you when you're 5.
And so it was just.
But she came home and was like, "I'm not wearing these again."
But like she was traumatized by it because it got her attention that made her feel different and, you know, isolated and ostracized. And so we had to like really fight against the gender normative, you know. I tell you, people talk about the gay agenda. There is a bigger straight male agenda over anything. There is literally an agenda, which is to keep people straight and keep the patriarchy alive. And she was fighting against that every day. I mean, it was a trip. And so now she's leveling out, and she's like, you know, I'm a girl, and that doesn't mean anything except for I just have this, you know, this particular body part. That's all it means. I can do whatever I want. I can like she taught herself how to skateboard during the pandemic, and she's a skating monster.
And it never occurred to her that like this is a thing boys do, or this is like a thing that I shouldn't be doing.
So she's finding herself and in a world that we're trying to create for her, which is giving her the freedom to be whatever that looks like. And whatever she is, she will assign that to what it means to be a woman. There will never be for her, as long as we, you know, keep working on it, there will never be for her this notion that being a woman means A, B, and C. It's infinite. And I feel like that's our goal.
So Joshua, there's a question for you.
Oh, yes.
Could Joshua talk about Meghan Markle for a moment?
Motherfucking Meghan. Sure.
Really in her life. That's what you need to ask.
We call her Auntie Meghan.
Listen, let me clarify. So Meghan and I met many years ago.
Yes.
It was the summer before high school for the both of us. It was a summer theater arts camp. We became great friends. It was very much what you'd expect at that time. And that, you know, this was like 93 or whatever, or 94, I think. maybe 95, where her friends came up to me and was like, Meghan likes you, and my friends told her friends that Joshua like whatever, and she was cute. And the funny thing, one of the things that I haven't talked about a lot about this is that it's so funny to me that all it took for us to become girlfriend and boyfriend was I like you.
Did she circle? Did you write?
No, it was straight up like
my girlfriend. Yes, no, circle one.
I feel like we had a conversation. We sat down at like the benches when we had lunch. And we're like, so you want to do this? And that was kind of it. That was kind of the whole thing. And I feel like,
were you guys looking at each other? Were you like looking straight ahead?
I think it was like a little bit of this and like a little bit of this, you know, and like, and I feel what's funny about the moment, the time period about that is we essentially became girlfriend and boyfriend first and then dated, right? Like we didn't do it.
Oh, right.
Because when you're a kid, you don't date, you just become a couple and then you figure it out. And so we learned about each other as we were already together in a relationship. And, you know, we spoke on the phone all the time. And it was very like, if you were to do a story about it, you would see me in my mom's bedroom with the phone cord wrapped around my ankles, around my leg, around my hand. It was super long. And I was like, you know, in the corner of her room because I don't have my own phone yet. And, you know, and then my mom, it would be like 9. She got the phone now. She'd get on the phone and say, hey, Joshua, hang up. Like, mom, you know, I'm talking about girlfriend.
The old days.
The old days. Her dad would get on the phone, say, hang up, Meghan, whatever, you know. And that was it. You know, we didn't go anywhere. We saw each other every day at camp. We went to the movies like right before we broke up. And she was sweet. She was a sweet kid. She was a sweet, smart, very talented, very beautiful, curly haired.
But she made the move.
Frizzy. Yeah, she approached me.
She kissed you first.
But we talked about it. So I think we talked about.
Did she ask you for your consent?
It was very consensual. It was like we talked about, hey, we want to kiss? Let's kiss. And she said, all right, well, I think the conversation was, I don't want to plan it. So I'm going to surprise you when it happens. And I was like, all right. And I like Meghan wasn't my first kiss. Like I was just hers. I was kind of a hoe. So I had kissed everybody. I don't remember my first kiss. So she, I think the day it was like the day of camp. That day ended because it wasn't like sleepover camp. So our parents came and got us every day. And so the end of the day had come. It was like 4:00. And I think she walked to me in the lobby and like just kissed me. And that was kind of it. She's sweet. I haven't spoken to her in many, many years. I kept up with her mom longer than I kept up with Meghan. And her mom and I were like super close up until about maybe like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
But
someone else wants to know what you beatbox for.
No. I do this show because I love James. I don't get paid to do it. We do it because James is like one of the best people in the world.
He's amazing.
And if you want to hear me beatbox, you got to give me some money because
I support that. Give me some money, folks.
You wouldn't ask Miles Davis to be like, hey, Miles, give me some of that.
Some people would.
And he'd be like, nah, motherfucker. He'd be like, nah, I'm not doing that.
Here's another thing. So may he rest in peace.
Yeah.
He was the cousin of one of my cousins, not my.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we were at a Super Bowl party one year, and I see him every year. He comes to Super Bowl party, fun guy and everything. But someone did that whole thing. Can you say Humpty Humper? And then he was like, "Maybe, and I'll perform right here."
Yeah.
I was like, I support that. Take him, and then he could. I'm like, don't just ask him to do this. It's so rude.
It's my career. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Careers. Man, he rest in peace. I love that. I'm like, just no. I'm like, no. We don't do this for free. But I want to ask you, Joshua, though, because I never had a chance to ask you this. Because my daughter also follows you and stuff, followed you and everything. And she was just like, when he did that show, why did they never show his face?
Oh, the Drop the Mic show. Listen,
your name all the time, Joshua. Give me a beat. And it was like, but they hardly ever showed your face.
So here's okay. So
like every third episode they do a
so here's the thing.
Right.
If you watched it live, well, first of all, okay, I'm gonna say this. On that show, a hip hop show.
Yes.
Right. It's a show about rap music. right? And it really plays heavily into the hip hop culture, right? It glamorizes it. There were literally 2 people that were Black on that show. On the stage, every single episode. And I don't mean like, and listen, I was with that show since the very, very beginning, right? Like the show started with Corden, and I was there in the beginning with Corden, right? Before the pandemic hit, we were supposed to do one more episode, and obviously things got shut down. I'm the only one that's been with that show since the very beginning. When we started doing our own version, the only other Black person who became a staple was Method Man. So it was Method Man and me, and I thought it was very, very odd that the only other Black guy on the show they didn't want to show, and I feel like, it's just white people sometimes don't get it, right? And I feel like unfortunately, Drop the Mic was a show where I had to really listen. When we started doing the show, they had their vision, and I don't think I ever fit in that agenda. I think they just saw me I was so good at my job.
He was just sound.
That they just were like, this dude's, we can rely on him. We know he's going to deliver every time. He's going to find he's going to help the person find the beat. Right. He's going to work with them to make sure they sound good. And I think they just kind of forgot that I was a human being, who was capable of showing up and being a presence also. And so my trick was, and I would tell every actor that I worked with, I said, hey, when you ask for a beat, say, Joshua, give me a beat.
They did.
Don't just say, give me a beat. Say, Joshua, give me a beat. And my hope was that enough people would go, who the fuck is Joshua? And they'd have to go, he's that guy. So the only reason why you ever saw me at all was because it got weird that people kept saying my name, but that was my choice. That was literally me.
They would say your name, which is I always thought was so weird. They would go, Joshua, give me a beat, and look up
and look at me. I said, look at me.
But it wouldn't pan to you.
And it wouldn't pan.
Yeah, and so here's
I was like, Helen Mirren, where are you looking at?
Yeah,
see where
right, exactly.
Yeah. So I think there was this the reality that I got taken for granted, and I also think that because I wasn't a celebrity, there was no real need for them to do that, and it was like extra camera time, and the show wasn't about me, which I get, but I also feel like they couldn't figure out a reason why. And I think it wasn't enough for them to go, look, this is a hip hop show where there are really just 2 Black people working on it. Let's respect the fact that these guys are here and show them.
Not even that. And look, maybe this is like a proud wife thing, but it's a hip hop show. We have a live beatboxer.
Yes.
Let us show live beatboxer. It's not a freaking drum machine.
It's not just you, Cinthya. As a producer, now that I produce shows and I thought there should have been a space for you. They could have made you into a star, so to speak. It should have been a space for you.
They could have.
Right.
It could have been. Yeah, they really, I always thought, and this is not just about me being like, I'm worth it, but it also was more like, if I'm a producer, like if you look at, within the hip hop, narrative, I am the first, late night beatboxer. I am. Like, there's never been another one before me. And so they had this opportunity to go, look, we discovered this guy. Look how dope he is. Like, let's make him a part of this show. And so if you watched the TNT version, they would pan to me. Yeah. But I wouldn't be well lit, so I'd be in the dark sometimes.
Or it'd be like
it'd be a
from
weird
below,
angle.
from the bottom of the stairs.
They tried, but because I was never part of the vision, it just didn't feel organic. And I think, and then what happened was, as the show became more popular, they, all of those episodes went to YouTube, and they would just cut it down to just the battle, which makes sense. But it's just lack of vision, people just don't care. It's like, they just don't care.
And what'd you learn about yourself about that? What'd you learn?
Oh man, I take everything personally. Like that, I already know that, but like one of my my fatal flaws is that I really had a hard time on that show. Because you walk away from something like that going, do I matter? Like, you know, like every day, you know, if you're on a show that you feel like cannot happen without you, and you know that, but yet you're not seen, it really kind of like sits on your heart. And you you know, I had a dear friend who was very instrumental in making sure the show happened, and she had gotten fired, and I would tell her, I'd be like, yo, this this sucks for me. Like I like, why won't they show me? You know, like why am I not a part of this show in the way that I know I should be or could be? And you know, she would tell me like, the show's not about you. And like, she wasn't trying to hurt my feelings, but it wasn't. But it's really, I mean, I was with that show for 3 seasons, and they would still call me to do it, you know, with Corden, and Corden was really nice to me when he seen me, and he knows my name, is super sweet. But like, I did upfronts with them. The first season started, I did upfronts, and I was like, it just felt like I was hustling on set to make sure I kept my job, and it made me. I was always on edge.
It was very stressed out.
I was very stressed out. Like, one of the things that I had to deal with on that show was, because I was so good at my job and because people took me for granted, people wouldn't tell me when to be on set. And so, I didn't have anyone knocking on my dressing room going, hey, we want you to go set right now.
You wouldn't even give them a dressing room.
Yeah, I wouldn't have. So I'm just kind of wandering around. And I'm like this like lost beatboxer, like just wandering around. And there was.
And you would think for talent that is literally, the show cannot go on unless he is in his spot.
Yeah.
You would think that they would have found a centralized location and be like, hey, Joshua, be there. We'll come get you when it's ready.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, and I'm rehearsing with talent. And so sometimes I'd be sitting there somewhere waiting to do something, and I go, check on town, go, hey, how you guys doing? I'd sit there and rehearse with them every day, or whatever. And I would sometimes be in a room so the first season, I'm rehearsing with a football player, and this football player is high as a kite, right? Is having a hard time because he's high, and he's going to get up against an actress who's like stellar, and she's going to kill it. And so he's nervous. And so I'm working with him, and
everybody Google season 1 of Drunk.
Yeah, I'm not going to give names. He, nice guy. Everyone was nice. Yeah, so I'm rehearsing with him, and he's you can see he's high as a kite, and we're doing like rehearsal after rehearsal after rehearsal. And this is the episode where there's another actor who's super cool, and they start the episode. We would do 2 battles per episode, per shoot day. So they start the episode with this other actor and whoever he's battling, and the actor says, "Joshua, give me a beat," and they pan up, and I'm not there because I'm rehearsing with this football player, and no one came and got me. No one was like, hey, let's go get the guy who does the beat, bring him to set. Like, no one ever did that.
But what like completely blew my mind, and that is, you get everybody set. And look, I'm not in TV production, but you get everybody set up on stage, and you kind of check off a list, right? Like,
but this is what I'm saying.
The actor, Method Man, Haley Bieber. Do we got the guy that does the beats?
His name is Joshua, isn't here. So, and the fact that that was kind of a precedent, and I got blamed for that. They were like, "Why don't you want to say?" And I was like, "It's not my job to be my own stage manager, right?" And so I, that ended up working itself out, and people got in trouble for not telling me. But it just, as the show moved on, and the more I was in my spot on time, the more it was kind of just assumed that I'd be there. And so if I was not aware of time, or if I was busy doing something else, or if I was just in a room resting, the show would happen. And I remember talking to one of the EPs and being like, "Yo, I'm late because I was late today because I was late like 3 times to my spot." And each time I felt guilty, and I told the EP, I said, "Look, no one tells me when to be here. Like, I have to kind of guess and make assumptions, or I just have to sit and wait on set for hours and hours." And I feel like that's a waste of my time. Let me I am a performer on set. I'm not.
Plus, you're supposed to be rehearsing with the people,
right? And what the EP said to me was, "Well, I'm here. I know when to be here. And I was like, okay. And that was it. And I was like, I'm sorry. And I apologized. And that was it. And I realized I'm not going to win this fight. And if this white man is telling me that because he's on time, then I should be, then there's nothing I can tell him. Because I was like, dude, you're the one in charge, right? Like if you're late, everything else is just early, right? You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of the thing for me. I mean, it was a fun show. It was a fun show in theory. I loved working with so many of those people. I met I got to meet Halle Berry, and she was awesome. I got to meet, one of the people that I loved working with, who was so cool, was Nicole Richie. Like I got to meet her, and I was like, she's really cool and like really smart, and it was so awesome to like kind of like break open the stereotypes and like talk to this person and go, what are sweet, I made friends on that show that I still have today. But it was hard. It was soul crushing in a lot of ways, and it really.
And he does, one of his fatal flaws is 100% taking things too personally.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I kept like thinking about and talking to him about through the show was, how can it not be soul crushing to have this show based on your culture and be complete? Like, if that is not like a little microcosm of what happens in the larger world.
To be the fifth element of hip hop and to not be seen and to feel like every day could be my last day because I don't feel like I matter, because I can't, I was scary, it was like, and it's like, there's a certain level of hunger that's healthy to keep you going. Yeah. But when your hunger becomes a need to be validated, it becomes a little bit like, I need you for my own self-worth. And that's every day kind of felt like that. So, the lesson that I walked away with was, I need to be in therapy all the time. And I need to like really find something in my life that like allows me to decompress. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. So it was like, what is the thing that allows me to let this go and keep going? And that was hard. It was hard. The show didn't go back on the air because AT&T bought out the network. Oh, okay. And they just weren't fans of it, I guess.
Or they just didn't know what to do, right? They just didn't know. They're like, oh, rap battle show.
But if it ever comes back and we ever do it again, I hope that there's this. I hope that now that Black Lives Matter all of a sudden. I hope that now they go, well, that black guy certainly should matter because he's been here since 2016. So
It's funny. Cinthya, I want to ask you, because you're doing some online courses and things on photography. You really have leaned into this. You are a great photographer. I had you on my show about photography. So what does it look like these days for you? What are some things? It's time for you to promote. What are you doing for folks?
Oh man. So Joshua, we normally go to this performing arts camp where I teach every summer for 2 weeks. And I usually teach the basics of photography just because of the way that the camp is set up. And there's not really we're in the woods. So there's not much that we can do. Most people bring their own equipment, but it's very limited. Okay. But one of the things that during the pandemic, I was leaning into and having conversations about is how we present ourselves online and how we see ourselves online. And now with everybody online all the time and seeing themselves, it's become this strange performance space where it's like we want to show ourselves, but are we authentically showing ourselves? What even is authenticity? A lot of us, and me included, are wanting to show our work, but not wanting to show ourselves. And that's a big struggle for me. I don't like being in front of the camera. I'd rather hide away, nobody look at me kind of thing. And so Joshua was putting together the virtual version. Why are you putting me closer to the camera?
I'm taking up too much space.
He made the director of this camp that we normally go to, but for the virtual version of it. And so he was like, hey, do you want to teach? Why don't you teach a photo class? And at first I was like, no, thank you. I don't want to.
She's an amazing teacher.
I'm sure she is.
She's brilliant. Yeah.
But then I was like, all right, fine, I'll do it. And then when I was thinking, I was like, we should have a discussion as women, particularly, about what it means to turn the camera on ourselves. And it kind of became a form of therapy for me to have to like sit and intentionally put myself in front of the camera, pose myself in a way that felt natural, or sometimes in a way that didn't feel natural, and then think about, why does that feel unnatural? Why can't I not look directly into the lens of this? Like, there's nobody behind the camera. Why can I not look directly into a lens if it's pointed directly at me? And all of these things. And so I thought, all right, I'm going to teach a class about what performance is in our daily life. Because what's the difference? Like, we're comfortable taking selfies, right? A lot of us have become really comfortable going, boop, selfie, because I think a lot of times there isn't much intention to it other than I feel brave for a second, or I'm really happy right now. And so I thought, all right, why don't we discuss what the difference is between a selfie and a self-portrait that takes a little bit more planning, a little bit more intention again. And let's unpack that. Like, let's unpack why we're so uncomfortable. And I know a lot of women who don't feel comfortable because they don't fit the certain, criteria of what, and we have influencers now, and we have women that look a very specific way. And even though it is expanding, and even though you have multiple body types now that are becoming famous, and you've got women of color that are becoming famous, it's still a very aesthetic-y, like very thought out version of people.
It's very agenda. It seems like an agenda.
Yeah. And so the class is going to be structured around that and how we can present ourselves, understanding that we're writing our own stories, right? Like, we can be in control of what we look like, and it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to show who we are. And it's also okay to say, hey, I'm going to show this part of my life only, or I want to be seen in this way. I want to be seen as a confident person. I want to be seen as a thoughtful person. How do I make that come across without being contrived, all while being true to myself? So it's a lot of self-reflection.
It's one of those things, because we're in a world of curation. I feel like, every filter, every this, every that, every angle, and everything feels so curated now. It's like it's either being done for a specific reason. I'm trying to get noticed by so-and-so, so all my pictures are this way. I'm trying to get this kind of image, so all my pictures are this way. I'm trying to get the numbers up. So it feels very much like that, I think. But are we really looking into ourselves? I know for me, I came from radio. So when I first came, this whole video thing was not planned for me. I kind of fell into it. And I had to learn how to the camera. Just cameras. I'm like, and I was in the studio. You guys went to my studio, right? I used to be in the studio after my TV. It was like, I was a camera here and a camera there and a camera here and a camera. And I'm like, hi, I'm James Lott Jr. Like, I didn't know what to do. It's just kind of like, where do I look? Where do I go? What do I do? Clearly, I learned how to do it. But I know that for me, it became this thing where I always teach this to my mentees out there in the business. The camera became part of the experience. It was not separate and apart. When I viewed the camera as separate, so that created the barrier for me. It's something else that's trying to get me. The camera's not trying to get me. The camera's there to capture whatever me is. It's not out to get me. So I had to learn how to break down that thing. So there's no wall. It's a piece of equipment that's going to help me get out to the people. So make it part. It's almost like when I tell people you go on the train. The train is not your transportation. It's part of the trip, because trains are slower than planes. It's like they call cars road trips. It's part of your trip. So once you start changing your mindset, clicking it to where it's not this thing that's out against you, it's going to capture all your flaws, or something like this negative stuff. Obviously, the camera doesn't lie. It clearly doesn't. But it's not your enemy.
Right. And I'm not necessarily doing this class with the intention of like people signing up because they want to be seen by other people, or because they want to like hit the numbers or become like the new Instagram influencer. But it really is an exercise in getting comfortable with ourselves, and being okay with being seen. You might not want to be the next YouTube star or the next Instagram celebrity, but everybody has a story and everybody has something to share. And the more we get comfortable putting ourselves out there, even just for our friends and family, and being like, hey, this is me, this is who I am, the more open we can be. Why is it?
It's just trying to find us. Hold on.
Trying to find you. Where are you? Where are you?
You're pissing the camera off. You're pissing the camera off.
We are. Don't go to the camera anymore. It's not the camera anymore. It's crazy. Oh my God. It's
Well,
totally
we're gonna do that, and then I don't know. We're just blurry for a moment. They'll figure it out.
That is hilarious.
Focus.
Yeah.
We're on camera, and the camera does this. Okay, camera, we get the message.
Get
Okay.
closer. Get closer.
It's oh my gosh, it's conspiring against me.
It is.
If you don't want to
It
be
is.
seen, have your face take up the entire
Oh,
camera.
that's hilarious. Why is it doing that all of a sudden? That's crazy. We told the
That's really funny.
It's
That's
alive.
hilarious.
The camera is alive. You were wrong the entire time. It knows. It knows.
It is out to get you. Oh my goodness.
Oh my
That is
God.
hilarious.
Oh my God. How do we fix that?
This my show can't get any better than this. This is hilarious to me. This is like
The Matrix
You know
is
what?
real.
You just have to listen. Just listen to us talk. It's okay.
Oh my God. And so somebody wanted me to ask you a question, Cinthya. Like, do you use different cameras like GoPros and iPhones for certain pieces? They're asking about, like, do you use multimedia ways to do your pictures?
I don't when I do my actual portraiture,
Yeah.
I use a DSLR, or I started to use my medium format camera now. I like shooting myself with film because it gives me time to not overanalyze what I look like or what it was. It's a process. And then I can go, okay, I'm going to walk away from it. It takes a couple. Oh, there we go.
Fixed it.
Can I go back now?
No, you're gonna miss it. It's gonna get scary.
It's really something else to take a picture of yourself. And we're so used to that instant gratification, right? You take a selfie. Sometimes you can take 10 before you decide which one you like.
Yes.
But shooting yourself on film has that special magic of being like, I can't see. I can't do anything. I have to be okay with what just happened here by myself. And then I have to wait.
We are thoughtful artists, and I feel like we don't live in a time. We live in it because what you said is true. Like, where everything's about instant gratification, we don't take time with our work anymore. Like, everything is right now. Because of the right now-ness, there's fear in waiting. There's fear in, like, you know, is this do I like what I did? Do I even care about what I did? What is the intention behind what I did? Like, taking those moments and beats to be thoughtful with your work is something that we are very much
yeah, and that's one of the things that I noticed too, because I do take a lot of pictures with my phone. I mean, it's a great camera. It's come a long way. I mean, it's better. My very first digital camera was like a 3.2 megapixel Canon point and shoot.
Oh yeah.
And like, I don't know, I think it was like 2000 or something. That was my first digital camera. And it was this little brick, and the pictures, like, I recently found a hard drive with some of those pictures. The pictures you can't make bigger than like this on your screen, and they're all pixelated. They're horrible. But you know, like, a cell phone is a great camera, especially if you have like an iPhone, a 12. And I was realizing that I was taking a lot of pictures and spending a lot of time going, oh, well, this is a little bit off, or my eye is a little bit like closed, or my eye's lazy. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna limit myself. And even with the DSLR, which, you know, I have the possibility of taking thousands of pictures, I try to limit myself to, like, you got 15 minutes. Okay. What you get in 15 minutes is it. Okay. And it's not like super, like Flickr. I won't take 100 pictures. Sometimes it'll be like 10.
Okay.
And I'll go, that's it. I had this moment, this light, this thing that I want to do, and that's it. And then I got to walk away.
I feel like Cinthya's approach to film, taking photographs, is similar to Daniel Day-Lewis's approach to doing movies, and that he's done like what, 20 in his whole life.
Right.
And he's like arguably one of the greatest actors of all time. You're like, how do we know that? He's done like 20 films. What if he sucks in the 21st one, right? Like
three Oscars, 20 films.
Yeah, he's got 3 Oscars. He's done like 10 movies. Yeah. You know, meanwhile, you got people like, you know, Sam Jackson, who's done like 197, not won 1 Oscar, you know, so it's like, what does it mean to really be thoughtful in your method and what you choose to be a part of and create?
I'll be Daniel Day-Lewis, but also, you know, there's that struggle of, and we talk about this all the time, is I have this really strong conviction to limit myself, but that keeps me very limited and then prevents me from.
Yeah, it's a balance,
succeeding.
right? Like we think that the conviction is necessary to evolve art. And I think if you look at people who have moved the goalpost, is people who have been thoughtful and been innovative and have taken the time to cultivate something brilliant and beautiful and like really reflective of self and revealing. And I think it's like the stuff in between, which is the machine creating content. Like it's Hollywood putting out a blockbuster that means nothing, but it's just dollars. It's like that stuff is going to always be there, but it's the stuff that like takes time and it's in moments, and you like it stops you and makes you present and sit there and like reflect and be, and like that stuff is what we look for. And I think if we allowed humanity to like stop and be present with art, you'd have more evolution and more. It's kind of like I always talk about this in the house. Like I almost feel like technology moved beyond us and we're catching up, right? Like we weren't ready to have cell phones yet. And you can tell by how kids walk around with them in the street and they almost get hit by cars. And you're like, if we were caught up to having cell phones, we know to like look up in traffic, and be sure like this car is stopping at the stop sign. But like if I'm driving, I will almost hit a kid like every day, because they're just not paying attention. Right. And I'm like, look, it's a green light, dude. You stop. You know what I'm saying? And so, because I'm driving through the green light. So, I think Cinthya and I are people who really put a lot of like thought and attention behind and detail behind the work we create. It definitely slows the machine down, and we don't put out stuff as frequently as we want to, but we like to think that our art means something that's beyond just us.
And that's the struggle, because in today's world,
to be successful, you got to
be
like,
successful.
Boom, 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 boom,
you got to be out there and you got to be seen everywhere and putting out content all the time. And it's a struggle.
Yes, I know. I just want to tell you, Joshua, me and my friends here love your hats.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how cool is that?
That totally worked out.
These were all given to me. I didn't buy them. So
really? Oh, no one gave me anything. So like, I had to like fight for this. So did you watch The Mandalorian? Obviously,
I have a Star Wars fan base. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. Period. Yeah, so yes, I did watch Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2.
Don't you? I can't remember who I was talking about this, but like, don't you love how because of Black people screaming for diversity, don't you love how Star Wars has become a more inclusive universe? Like I'm so into that. I love it.
Disney Plus, for all its whateverness,
I love it.
I love it. I would say for all its whateverness, you can throw things at it, I'm sure. They come between Marvel and Star Wars universe. There's programming that's very diverse. One of my friends became the first African-American, oh my God, I've got the name of these people. No, she was in WandaVision. She was in Marvel. Her name's Lori Livingston. And she became the first whatever of something of that type to be in the Marvel universe. And it's like, they're making these opportunities happen. And one of my friends, it's going to be the new Supergirl in the DC stuff. Like all this stuff is starting to happen now in cinema and in TV and in all the the Hulus and the Paramount Pluses. It's starting to happen. It's starting. It's still tough.
It's hard.
I'm in the business. We're in the business. It's still tough.
It's hard.
I hear a lot of, but I will say with Star Wars, especially because it wasn't so diverse.
You had one. You had Billy D. Williams, and that was it. And he was the one. And we all love Lando, but like it was just him. Yes. And I mean, look. We're not done yet, but I've been a part of conversations with people who are like, I don't want to think about it. And I'm like, no, think about it. We talk about Sesame Street a lot in this house because I feel like the reason why Sesame Street worked is because the people involved had a very clear intention about creating a space that reflected what they saw in New York City. Right. And it was as simple as, when I look out my window, I don't just see white people. Yes. And somehow that was very clear in the late 60s and 70s with Jim Henson, and people didn't do it with Friends
And I didn't
or
grow up.
Sex in the City. And you're like, how do you miss out? How do you do a show
Yeah.
and you go, oh, wait, I just casted a bunch of white people to reflect a city that is not at all a bunch of white people.
I didn't grow up with Sesame Street, but we've now watched it with Shell and like rewatched it. And the episodes from the 60s and 70s, I'm like, whoa, this is like what people are talking about now that you need. This
show
is like the push.
It's so diverse.
Black Lives Matter. Sesame Street had it figured out way back when.
Sesame Street is so diverse that you forget about it being diverse because it feels real. And people don't get that diversity and inclusion makes things feel more authentic and natural. When you watch a film and it's all a bunch of white people, you go, this is weird because that's not the life that I'm living, right? It's hard. I mean, you really have to, to be, look, America is 15% Black, right? But the world is mostly people of color. White people in the planet Earth are the minority. And yet almost 80% of our media doesn't reflect that. And that's a choice. And so when people talk about doing anything and they do not want to talk about diversity, they are making a conscientious choice to be racist and to be divisive and to be dismissive of the reality, which is we occupy the world more than anything else.
Well, please go ahead.
I was going to say, one of my favorite things in one of the conversations that we've had a lot is our daughter loves Frozen, right? And when Frozen 2 came out, Joshua was like, yes, there's a Black man in it.
There's 3 of them.
There's 3. Like, now we're going to go see it. And we were like, I think it was Ami and I, our older son, and we're like, look, it makes sense. This takes place in where like Norway, like they're Danish or whatever. Like there are no Black people. And Joshua was like, there's a talking snowman.
Yeah. That's not real. So
if
you can suspend your disbelief to believe in a talking snowman, but you cannot imagine a Black person, then you are a racist.
Why can't there be Black people in this magical world?
We just watched Luca, and Luca is really freaking great. But I said the same thing. I was like, look, why aren't there more people of different ethnicities in this movie? And I think
it was both of us again. We're like, because they're Italian.
And I was like, they're talking sea monsters. None of it's real. It's fake. It's a movie. I don't understand. Okay, we're talking a lot, but it's kind of like Ernie and Bert.
I love it.
It's kind of like Ernie and Bert, right? I've been talking a lot about Ernie and Bert lately, right? Because Ernie and Bert, if you apply human logic, they do not make sense, right? They're 2 male Muppets who live together. Ernie is orange, Bert is yellow. We don't understand the relationship. One likes to collect bottle caps and likes pigeons. The other one likes the rubber ducky. How old is Ernie? Why is this seemingly like this? They live alone. You never see parents. Like, what is going on? Like, this one likes the ducky. Is Ernie, really mentally handicapped? Like, what is it? But the reality is, what we do as human beings, because we haven't evolved yet, is we see 2 eyes and a nose and go, human laws. They must abide by the human laws. And human laws are that if it's 2 guys, well, either they're best friends or they're gay. If they're living by themselves, they're adults. And the reality is they're not human beings at all. They're Muppets. And so what I love about Ernie and Bert is if you're a smart person, you have to open your brain and go, this world applies by different rules. It's not real. And it forces you to be accepting of things that are different and be open to, like, just because I don't live that way,
I don't have to apply my logic
to anything else.
To their relationship.
And something about our weird brains accepted that race, which was a construct, is real. Even though we have the same DNA, even though you cannot figure out if you killed me and a white man, we'd have the same everything, except for maybe the 1%. And that 1% is the same difference that we have in monkeys, right? Like apes. Sorry. So sorry. She's smart.
I have a degree in anthropology.
So So the fact that we
apes are not monkeys
bought in to this weird logic that if it has two eyes and a nose and a mouth, it has to abide by the same rules that I abide by is so oppressive. But we do it all the time. We watch movies and we're like, it's a movie. It's never real.
When are you going to do your Sesame Street TED Talk?
I'm never going to do that.
You should know. Well, you know what's so funny? Because again, I grew up with Sesame Street, Electric Company, Zoom. They were all very diverse. It was a very early 70s, very diverse, and they showed. And because again, it's representation, which does matter. It really does. When you're a kid, especially, it does matter. And recently, I have a show an audio show that just ended called Claus, a series about Santa Claus. It gave Santa Claus a family. Yeah. And they were like, it was like Dynasty meets Santa Claus.
Wait a minute.
It's a fun.
Give us more. Hold on. Okay.
So we have these two families, the Frost family, Jack Frost and his family, and Santa Claus with Mrs. Claus, Santa Claus Jr., his grandson. They fight. They have these two Playboy Santa Claus cousins who thinks being Santa Claus is kind of cool. I wrote the whole thing. It's out there. It's on any streaming platform. You can listen to it. I got some great voice because again, last year we couldn't do anything. It's like all these great voice actors. The guy who plays Santa, Dave Moxley, is amazing.
We have homework tomorrow. This is what we're doing tomorrow. Yeah,
it's like 13 episodes. They're all quick.
Oh my God.
They're like 9 minutes or less.
Okay.
And the theme song is written and done by me. So
amazing.
So here's what I think. So here's the thing that I had to check myself because I believe in diversity and I got my network. So when I was casting it, I found a perfect Santa Claus guy. He's just perfect. I cast the guy who's going to play his son, Santa Claus Jr. Both of them are white, mind you.
Yeah.
One of the actors came through who's a mixed race, biracial black man, and I loved him. And we started talking about the grandson. Because of him, it opened my eyes and I go, why can't it be a brown Santa?
Yeah.
Why couldn't I know this in my regular life, but I'm like thinking, oh yeah. I said I cast him as Carl Claus, the grandson of Santa Claus, where his whole thing is he wants to be just like his grandfather.
Yeah.
As a Santa. All the tenets of what Santa stands for. He's like, I happen to be black.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter, but he's fighting that through the press because he's black. So I did this whole commentary on that on the show. And but for me, just James Lott Jr., producer. Yeah. And I'm black. And I go, wait a minute. I should why am I just auditioning white actors? Like I had to catch myself and go, he plays it perfectly. It's like he's good. So actually I gave him a black mother. So the one who plays her, she plays Carly Claus, she's good. So it completely changed the structure, but it really didn't change the story. Not that much. It's still about Santa Claus's family. Half of it's black.
Listen, we talk about how colonized we are. Like
that's deeply ingrained.
We're colonized. Like you cannot be American and not be colonized. And I think, look, I'm a big nerd. I love Marvel. I'm in. Like anything Marvel does, I'm like, yes, I'm watching it. I'm loving Loki. I loved WandaVision. I loved Captain America. Winter Soldier, and I loved it. I loved all of it. I'm like, sign me up. Take my blood, whatever you want. I'll give it to you. Take my money, my sperm. Here's Shell. Take Ami, Lila. So I'm in. So, I got into a big debate with my buddy because I was like, look, there's this rumor that Feige might be on board to make, they're making X-Men again. And there was this rumor about, maybe Denzel will be Charles Xavier and Magneto would be Carlos Esposito, Giancarlo Esposito. And I was like, right? Because I was like, oh my God. Like, first of all, these are two amazing actors, like two of my favorites of all time. Yeah. And to see two of these acting powerhouses play characters that I grew up with was mind-blowing. And my buddy was like, well, I don't know if it's gonna work because Magneto's Jewish. And I was like, hey, so am I. And I was like, B, also, there's no such thing as mutants. They're not real. There's never been one. Never been one. You're telling me you can't get on board with a black man who can use his brain to make things lift in the air because he's black? Like, what are you saying to me? And I think to me, like, that is so colonizing. Like, we have to abide by the box we checked in our brains, through 400 years ago.
Well, it's the story that we've been told.
Yeah, we don't understand.
It's the story that we're fed every single day.
I love.
That keeps being reinforced.
Yeah, look, I know we're not supposed to like him right now, but like Louis C.K.'s TV show was brilliant.
Oh, it was brilliant. It was brilliant.
It was fantastic.
I agree.
And it was fantastic because it wasn't just about him, it was about us, right? As human beings. And he got a ton of shit because he made the mother of his children Black. People were like, your kids are white, Louis. And he was like, it's a TV show. She's playing a character. It's got nothing to do with her race at all. Right. And he was like, the fact is that she came in and she was the best person. And that's why I casted her. And I was like, that's amazing. And if we were to do that more often with the intention of let's create more opportunities for people who haven't had them, you know, like let us catch up for a while. Right. Then it goes back strengthens our possibility of evolution. We go, wow, I never saw things like that. Well, it
just goes back to having this logic, right? Louis C.K. had white children, therefore he must have married a white woman. Like we can't go, this is a TV show that doesn't do it. Like it's not anything.
It's the same thing as like, okay, so people that have known me for a long time, knew you've known me before I had kids. And there are people that I will meet that will go, wait a minute, so your son is 13, but I knew you 7 years ago and you didn't have you? They can't figure it out. And I'm like, yeah, they're my kids. And it takes them a long time because if it doesn't fit your rehearsed narrative, and you don't understand it.
Going back to the Father's Day thing.
Oh, yes.
I think that was always really hard for me in the beginning because he jumped in like right away and was like, hey, if we're doing this, like I'm taking responsibility for being in these kids' lives. And so he really quickly, after like a short, what people would, I think, define as a short time was like, these are my kids. Like when we got really serious, like, these are my kids. And people would be like, but they're not. And he's like, no, but if I'm telling you, these are my kids.
These are my kids.
Then these are my kids.
Accept it and move on. That's how
accept it and move on. The amount of people that when I got pregnant with Shell would tell him, wait till he's born, then you'll know.
Yeah. I gotta tell you.
Understand.
I gotta tell you, when Shell was born, I was like, ew. You know, like that was the only new thing. And I was like, I like when I said yes to being a father, that was the magic moment for me. That was me opening my heart and letting love in and having this like, oh my God, I'm a dad. Like that was it. When Shell was born, it was like, oh, now I got 3. And that was it. I got 3 and I got diapers. And that was it.
And he was born in our room. So it was like,
can you get out of my room? Like everyone was in my, there's a photographer in my room. There was like a doula and a midwife. Cynthia's mom came over. I was like, get out of my room. Her water broke all over the bed. I was like, oh, this is disgusting.
There was no, that magic moment didn't happen. But you know, people were like, you don't understand. You won't understand until this baby's born.
I'll tell you what's really cool about having 3 kids and having 2 older ones is you got babysitters. That was it. You know, you got built in, you know, and you know, what's really cool about it is like, we're all raising him, right? Because he's so young. It really is this village, and like, we're watching him latch on, like Shell loves his older siblings. Like he loves them. Like he wakes up in the morning and goes, "Where's Ami?" You know, he loves his siblings.
And there's no sense of like, he's my half brother. I think people put that on them.
They do, yes.
A lot of people put that on them. Like, well, he's your half brother.
They've never.
Or he's your stepdad, and they're like, I don't understand what you're saying.
One dad. And, you know, like, that's my dad. And then, you know, they're biologically like, yeah, that's that guy. But like, we have a dad, and that's Joshua. Yeah. And they've never been my stepkids. I've never been stepdad.
But it's the outside world that has tried to give that to them.
It's the straight man agenda. All of it.
It is. And that's where we'll end the show. The straight man agenda.
Can we quickly plug? So virtual.
Okay, wait. Hey, Joshua. I know it's been a while since you've done my shows.
I'm sorry.
You
Yes,
know,
I remember.
I'm going to let you.
Sorry.
I'm the king of plugging. You know that.
I'm sorry.
Cheese and crackers. Let me be a producer.
I'm sorry. Take my hat off. Thank
you. I'm your elder. You have to respect it. No,
sorry, James.
I love you guys. I do. You know that. And I gotta see Shell in person. I gotta meet the baby. And I gotta meet
he's
the toddler
sleepy.
in person.
Yeah.
I gotta meet him in person. So I gotta come over and see you guys in person.
Definitely.
I'm totally vaccinated. I'm waxed and vaxxed, and I'm ready to meet. Everything's clean.
James.
I love it. But no, thank you so much for coming on the show. You have to come back on again because I can talk to you guys forever. There's a lot of things because we haven't even talked about the whole In the Heights controversy yet. So I haven't even got to the Afro Latina stuff. So I can't even. The show's already gone on an hour and a half, and maybe I have to cut it off at some point. But you have to come back on. We'll talk some more topics. Because there's a lot of things still to talk about that I want to talk about with you guys. So you guys, these are the Silversteins, and they're doing amazing stuff. And I'm gonna have each of them tell me what they each have coming up that you might want to check out. So, ladies first, Joshua. I'm just kidding. Cinthya, go ahead. Cinthya, go ahead.
Well, it's a joint effort. I'm teaching a class on self-portraiture, the art of self-portraiture, as a part of the curriculum for this virtualcaz that is happening all month long in July, starting July 5th through the 31st. Check it out. bit.ly/virtualcaz.
All lowercase.
All lowercase. But I'm only one of many teachers, many artists, many artists of color that are going to be facilitating classes on art, music, everything.
Yeah, virtualcaz. That's it. I mean, virtualcaz is a July experience. Again, the website to go to sign up for classes is bit.ly/virtualcaz. It's virtual. I spelled virtual wrong. CAZ. C as in cool. A. Z as in zebra. Virtualcaz.
Yes.
It is
I'll put it in the description.
It's a month of online classes that is not just like lame. It's like I'm talking about. We got massage therapy classes. You can learn how to massage your partner or your kid. We've got beginning piano. We've got learning different drum patterns of the diaspora class for all ages. We've got classes that are for people that are 16 and up. We have a musical improv class, a regular improv class. We got improv zoo every teacher that's teaching are people that are in their field, working in their craft for many years. Screenwriting classes, cinematography classes, painting classes, neighborhood art. We have a chess class that's for 3-year-olds. And so 3 and up, 3 to 13. So go to the website. We have events happening we have a morning DJ show every day from Monday to Friday. We can sign on and see a new DJ every day spinning live for you on Zoom for an hour and a half in the morning. There's so much stuff. But here's the thing. If people wait, they won't be there because the way this works is like you got to get a minimum amount of signups or else the class won't happen. So there are certain classes where folks just are waiting. And we'll cancel them because we don't want them.
Everybody, the whole point of it was to make art accessible.
So they're all affordable.
I know people are going back out into the world and things are happening, but we still have the opportunity to experience all these people. A lot of these people are in New York. Some of these people are up north in San Francisco.
We have a cooking class. That means every Thursday you can at 5:00 you can come out and cook. And learn how to make a new dip like flatbread. We have
vegan style
saltfish, jambalaya. This is an amazing program, but it will not happen unless folks sign up right now.
Okay, so I will put that in. I'll put it in the description. People go sign up. Go check this out, please. I love this kind of stuff and learn something new or try something you've always wanted to try. The whole thing. It's like now's your chance to do that. And
in the comfort of your own home.
We have classes for women and non-binary folk. Go sign up.
Yeah, I love that. This week, I have 2 new books out this week. One's called Claws of Series, the book. The other one is For the Magnifier, Volume 3. So all you Fervent Day fans, the next chapter's out, both written by myself. They're out tomorrow. So everybody really happy. And I have a new song coming out called He's Always Right on Time. And that song is coming out soon. I just put the announcement out and uploaded it and everything, so it'll be coming out soon. So stay tuned for that. And of course, this week I have a bunch of new programs this week on JLJ Media. So make sure you follow me on all social media platforms of JLJ Media. We are everywhere, and on YouTube and on every streaming service. So I mean, from iHeartRadio to Apple to Google, I put it everywhere. And of course, you can follow me, little old me, James Lott Jr., where all James Lott Jr.'s are sold at James Lott Jr. on all social media platforms. Yes, even on TikTok. Yes, I'm on there. I'm a star, I'm a TikTok star. So I'm on there, but you can check me out there too. Where I have different series on there also. But everyone, please take care of yourselves, take care of your community. Both things are very important, and a lot of times go hand in hand. Make sure you take care of yourself, and we will see you next time. Thank you, guys.